The sun was dipping low over the quiet suburban street, casting long shadows between rows of neatly kept houses. Children's laughter still echoed faintly from backyards, but on one corner, where the light failed to reach, darkness began to gather in the form of menacing footsteps. A gang of leather-clad thugs moved like a storm through the neighborhood, their presence enough to make curtains draw and hearts pound behind closed doors. In the middle of them, towering above the rest with bulging arms and a sneer that reeked of cruelty, was the man everyone feared. And it was this man who, without a second thought, reached out and snatched a small, terrified girl from the sidewalk, her shirt screaming the word she could not shout loudly enough, "Help me." In that instant, time seemed to freeze. The child's wide, tearful eyes searched desperately for mercy that wasn't there. Her tiny arms flailed helplessly against the brute's grip, but his strength was unshakable. The gang roared with cruel laughter, their voices a sickening soundtrack to the horror unfolding. Neighbors peeked from their windows but dared not intervene, frozen by fear of what might happen to them. It looked as if no one would come. But then, from the edge of the street, a growl broke through the chaos, low, steady, and fierce. A German shepherd, powerful and alert, stepped forward from the shadows. His eyes locked on the girl. His ears pinned back. His body tense like a coiled spring. He was not just any dog, he was her silent guardian, her only hope. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the loyalty that animals bring into our lives, then please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, Pawsitive Tales, and share this story with someone who needs hope today. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. The dog's name was Rex, and he was no stranger to hardship. Only a few years earlier, he had wandered the streets himself, abandoned and bruised, surviving on scraps and enduring the cruelty of those who saw him as nothing more than a stray. But fate had given him a second chance when a loving family took him in, a family that included the very little girl now clutched in the thug's merciless grasp. Since that day, Rex had made it his silent mission to protect her with his life. To him, she was not just his human, she was his world. As the thug tightened his grip, Rex let out a sharp bark that cracked like thunder across the street. The laughter of the gang faltered. The brute turned his head, sneering at the sight of the dog. "Stay back," his glare seemed to say. But Rex didn't know the meaning of fear. Every muscle in his body quivered with determination as he stepped closer, inch by inch, his growl deepening, his teeth flashing in the dim light. He knew the odds were stacked against him. He knew there were more than a dozen men waiting to strike him down if he dared move. But loyalty is a force stronger than fear, and love is a weapon sharper than any blade. The girl's sobs grew louder, her voice breaking as she cried for her mother, for anyone, for Rex. And Rex answered in the only way he could. With a sudden burst of courage, he lunged forward, his bark exploding into a roar that echoed off the houses. The gang staggered back in surprise. The thug gritted his teeth, struggling to keep his hold on the girl as Rex circled them, snapping at his arm, his eyes burning with fury. Every fiber of Rex's being demanded that the child be set free. But the brute wasn't about to give up so easily. He yanked the girl higher into the air, making her scream in terror. "You think a dog can stop me?" his body language snarled. The gang cheered him on, regaining their cruel rhythm. Yet, even as the men loomed closer, Rex did not waver. He was outnumbered, outmatched, but not out of heart. With another ferocious leap, he sank his teeth into the thug's thick leather jacket, tugging with all the strength he had. The thug staggered, losing his balance, and for a brief second, the girl's feet touched the ground. Her tears mixed with hope as Rex's growls thundered with defiance. The battle that followed was not just one of muscle and might but of spirit and soul. Every time the thug tried to push Rex away, the dog came back stronger. Every time the gang threatened to step in, Rex's unrelenting courage held them at bay. He was not just fighting a man, he was fighting despair, fear, and cruelty itself. The girl's cries began to shift, from screams of terror to gasps of belief. She could feel it. Rex was not going to let her down. Not now. Not ever. Minutes felt like hours as the struggle raged on. The thug, sweating and snarling, grew frustrated. His grip weakened under Rex's relentless attack. Finally, with one desperate jerk, Rex bit down harder, his jaws locking onto the thug's arm. Pain shot through the brute's body, and he let out a roar that shook his own men. In that moment of weakness, the girl wriggled free, stumbling backward into safety. She collapsed onto the pavement, sobbing in relief as Rex positioned himself between her and the gang, his body a living shield, his growl a promise of war if anyone dared come closer. The thug staggered back, clutching his arm, his arrogance shattered. His gang, once so bold, now looked at the dog with fear in their eyes. For the first time, they saw not just a pet, not just an animal, but a warrior fueled by love. A silence fell over the street, broken only by the girl's quiet sobs and Rex's steady growl. One by one, the men began to step back, their courage crumbling. Even the brute himself, pride wounded and spirit shaken, finally turned and retreated into the darkness, dragging his followers with him. And just like that, the street was quiet again. The danger had passed, but the memory of it would never fade. The little girl, trembling but safe, crawled to Rex and wrapped her small arms around his neck. Her tears soaked his fur, but Rex didn't move. He stood tall, chest heaving, eyes still scanning the shadows for danger. Only when he was certain it was truly over did he lower his head and nuzzle her gently, as if to say, "You're safe now. I promised I'd protect you, and I always will." Neighbors who had been too afraid to act finally emerged from their homes, their eyes wide with awe. They whispered in disbelief, shaken by what they had witnessed. The story of Rex's bravery spread quickly, traveling beyond the neighborhood, beyond the city, until it became a symbol of the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. But for the girl, no words, no headlines, and no whispers could ever capture the depth of what had happened that day. She knew that when the world had turned its back on her, when cruelty threatened to take everything away, it was Rex, her dog, her best friend, her guardian, who had stood unshaken. In his loyalty, she had found her salvation. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in the power of love and loyalty, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales for more emotional, inspiring stories. Your engagement helps us continue to tell stories that show the beauty of kindness, courage, and the bond between humans and animals. Special request, before you go, comment below with the words "Loyalty never fails" if Rex's bravery moved you. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feel the love of this community.